Hi everyone, I'm Diane Lupo. Welcome to Roland Comtois Soul Stories, a show to inform, inspire, and entertain you. And please welcome our fabulous host, author of Signs of Spirit from Worldwide Publishers Llewellyn, Roland Comtois.
Hey Diane, how you doing today?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Did you see the movie Bohemian Rhapsody?
I have not seen it yet.
Oh my God. It was,
And
you know, I'm all of a sudden a Queen fan now.
Oh, I've always been a Queen fan.
Have you?
Oh yeah, Freddie Mercury's
Well, there's one
amazing.
line in the movie that Freddie Mercury's father keeps saying to him. He keeps saying, good works, good deeds, good thoughts. And those words have impacted me.
It's a good summation.
It is a great summation. And it's part of what we're going to talk about today, because when I was thinking about coming here and being with our audience, and by the way, thank you for joining us and letting us visit you today. We're really grateful to be here with you. And thanks to Kevin and Cody for making this happen here at Seekonk TV 9. It was all about, well, first let me start. Let me take a step back. Last night in the car, on our way back.
It's always in the car.
On the way back from an event in Glastonbury, Connecticut, there was this whole conversation about complaining, you know, and you brought it.
And it came from the back seat where I was sitting.
And you brought it to our attention and to my attention, and I'm getting all red in the face right now, that, you know, maybe I or other people complain a lot. And so I did a little research on complaining, and it brought me back to the Bohemian movie about the guy, the father saying, good works, good deeds, good thoughts. If that truly is our mantra, then there is no room for complaining. But I have amazing news. And the amazing news is that this report says that everybody complains. There is some form of complaint that we experience every single day, but here's the bad news. The bad news is that with all that complaining and all that negative thought and all that negative energy, it changes the way our brain moves and grows.
Changes the chemistry of our brain.
It changes everything.
Isn't that something?
It changes everything about the brain.
I did complain this morning about quite a few things, beginning with my hair and then
my
makeup.
It says
I
here,
was complaining
it
quite a
says
bit.
that people complain. He said, you see that we all seem to complain from time to time about little things in life.
Yes.
And that's a natural, apparently that's a natural experience. This comes from runwonder.com.
My mother never allowed complaining.
Really?
And when I think about it, she did a bit of her own, but we weren't allowed to complain about anything. She would nip it, right?
Wow.
And she'd always point out somebody who was less fortunate or less talented or whatever, and she would struggling and make us stop.
Well, this whole article says that when we complain and when we get into that negative vibration and that negative thought, it changes the structure of our brain, which I find incredible, right? I find absolutely incredible. You know what else it does? It says it kind of rewires things, right? So it changes things and it does things that make our brain much different than it was before. And I find that incredible.
It affects everybody around you as well, too.
It's absolutely amazing.
Well, it's energy. Anything to do with energy, right? When you're putting out negative thoughts, even if they're just words and a complaint is a complaint, it's negative energy.
You know, I kind of piggyback this with the word perception. It's how we really look at things in life and how we view the world we live in or the people we share our lives with, right? There have been many times we walk into a group of a lot of people, and I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for myself, that I start to make judgments about why people are tough, or why are they grouchy, or why are they grumpy, or why are they there? Why do they have that attitude or energy? But the truth is, we don't know their story.
Exactly.
Look,
that's true.
We don't know their story.
In every facet of life, in every line of work, there are always, especially people who work with the public. When you meet someone who's gruff or a little inconsiderate, you might be quick to judge their personality.
Right.
You know, Dr. Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the way the things you look at change.
Yeah, that's true.
So it is perception.
It is all about perception. It's how do we decide perception though? What tools do we use to view the world we live in? Do we use our faith? Do we use our life experiences? What things do we employ to be able to make those judgments? Because I walk into a room and I see somebody there and I'm starting to wonder why they're the way they are. Now, the reason why, I mean, I've got a lot to talk about today, so I hope you stay with us for the whole show, because there's a lot of things to talk about. And one of the things that happened this week, and I really want to say this, I've got to say this, is this one woman who was in an audience of mine recently, and she sustained the kind of loss that if you haven't had this loss in your life, you will have no understanding of it at all. And we automatically look at her exterior, her outside world. We make a judgment by how she looks. But in here, there's something.
Yes.
And when we tap into the pain, look, we're going to talk about religion a little bit today too. The Buddhists believe that suffering has a purpose, and when we are free from the suffering, then we are totally in nirvana, kind of, right?
And Thich Nhat Hanh's always saying, you have to acknowledge the suffering in everyone. Everyone is suffering in some way. So acknowledging that first allows you to get beyond your judgment and your perception.
And this girl was there.
Oh my, it was
with
incredible.
This unbelievable
I was amazed
energy.
she was there.
Yeah, this unbelievable
that takes a lot of courage.
And she was just withdrawn, at least the way I saw her. And I wasn't, I guess I was judging her, but not negative. I was just looking at her, wondering why
well, when
she
you
was
walk
in
in
spot.
front of an audience of 50 to 100 people, you have to make some kind of, maybe not a judgment, but an assessment.
Yeah, it is an assessment.
Of where everyone is coming from and how you're going to work with the energy, because that's what you do.
Yes.
You're an energy worker.
Yes.
So, I can understand. Don't be too hard on yourself, Mr. Comtalk, because you're one of the most compassionate people I know. But it is easy to say, gee, they sat there like this.
Yes.
And, why do they even show up?
But we don't know.
We don't.
I mean, take a look at your own lives today. When you pass someone on the street, you don't know their story, their history, their legacy, what they've gone through. Right. And what this girl went through was multiple suicides of the most intimate family members possible. But she was able to be there, to be in that room, to have an experience, to maybe for one brief moment get out of that suffering and see the possibility that the family she loved and loves is still part of her. So we base the way we see people by a limited viewpoint, I think, sometimes. And when we expand that viewpoint, we have a greater sense of things,
Right.
Like this one woman who sat in my audience once, she said, I'm cynical. I said, oh, man.
Was it a relative?
I didn't want to tell you, but
no names.
One of your people came, but she said, I'm cynical and I don't buy this and I don't believe this. And instead of my judging her, I sat with her and tried to understand where she was coming from, right? If we did that in our everyday lives, we'd have a better understanding, and our viewpoint, our lens would widen a little bit.
There'd be less road rage for sure.
There'd be a lot less of a lot of things if we just stood by each other's side and really supported each other and expanded our compassion and our kindness. So our perception, it's based on our present reality, based on what we see, what we hear, what we feel, based on what we've gone through in our own lives. But now, go ahead.
And then there's the counter perception.
Okay.
So if you're very meek and mild and patient and calm, people perceive you to be somebody they can walk over or take advantage of.
Good point.
So there's the flip side of that.
Good point. It's a very good point, because there's certainly a vast array of experiences.
Things.
I mean, is my glass half full or half empty? Is it? I guess
mine had gunk in it. So.
Yours has hair. Mine looks like it's something, but is it half full or half empty? How am I going to view that? How am I going to look at it, and how am I going to experience that? The whole point of this show is to recognize that we all complain a little bit.
Yes, I do.
And when we're in that negative energy, though, when we're in it, changes there's one line I've got to read to you because it changes the way our neurons fire. Can you imagine?
I believe it. I mean, I'm into all this stuff. I love doing the vision board classes because we get to embrace how we talk to ourselves every day. And some of the dialogue we have with ourselves, even with ourselves, is very judgmental and unkind. And I think we should start there. Start with what is your inner dialogue? What are the words you're saying to yourself when you're driving in the car? How much do you complain about yourself?
Well, that's a good lead into the line because the line is repetition is the mother of all learning. And good job. Okay. And but it says here in this article that
I have some of my hairy water.
Good for you. Good. Congrats. Thanks. It says here in the article that when we're focused on the negative energy, our brain starts to fire in that way. It starts to work in that way. So we have to, on a daily basis, really work at being positive.
Yes, it takes focus.
It does take focus.
It takes patience. And there are little tricks you can do. I like affirmations, positive affirmations. When I catch myself in a complaining mode, and it builds. Did you ever find that, like when you're in that mode, it builds easily, doesn't it? It builds easily, and you have to catch it and stop it, and then that's where I like to have my mantras. So then I start with my mantras, and I'm half into them, like, all good things are coming to me now, and then I'll stop and say, okay, I have to raise my vibration and get out of this, and I'll just keep repeating some mantras until I get out of it, and then I feel better.
Not only do you feel better, you start to employ the universal laws. You start to employ the law of attraction. You start to employ this energy of getting in the flow. And then all of a sudden, you're attracting into your life positive experiences, positive people, positive results. This is not just hogwash here. And this is not some airy, fairy, fluffy story that some guy says.
I live with it.
You do live with it, and we do live with it.
Yeah.
I got to just tell you this little thing I used to do, and I might have said this to you before. In the old days on my website, I'd say, coming soon to Ireland. I didn't even have anything scheduled in Ireland. But I believe that if I put my focus there, and I believe that was a possibility.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
Well, about a month after that, I got asked to speak in Ireland. I mean, so
manifestation, baby.
Right,
yeah,
it's the way it works. It's the way it works. So this starts with, yes, we all complain a little. We all perceive in our own ways. But now we have to expand that perception. We have to move the energy just a little bit further so that we see the world with a wider viewpoint or a wider lens.
Right.
I think that's exciting.
It is.
I mean, there's a lot of things. So the question I want to ask you out there is, how do you perceive the world in which you live? I mean, we'd love to hear from you. What's our email address? Soul Stories TV.
Here we go.
Well, I'm glad you brought your notes. I'm glad you brought your notes.
Something about TV9. .com.
soulstoriestv@gmail.com. We'd like to know what you think about how you perceive the world, and maybe you have some tools or techniques you'd like for us to share with the world, because you don't know this, but this show makes its way all across the globe.
It does.
And I'm very happy to be part of it, and thank you again for helping us do this. The other thing this leads me into, though, is perception to religion, to spirituality. You want to hear something? This is what I read.
I love your research and your segues.
This is from author Michael Snyder, I guess. He said the percentage of Americans that claim to have no religion has increased by 266% since 1991.
Why is that?
Why is that? Why is that? Somewhere the compass is off. Somewhere we lost or religion maybe lost its way. I mean, if we look at the religions of the world, they all have, actually the truth is there are some really good tenets and points within the religions of the world. If you look at the Buddhists, they believe in the idea that suffering is a teacher. That's a wonderful tool to walk through life. If you look at the Hindu, they believe that truth is eternal. If you look at the Christians, they believe in God and that bigger experience. So what happened? Where did it all go wrong? And the real question is, though, what is the difference between religion and spirituality? You know, what is the difference? Of course, I have my own thoughts. You share yours, and I'll share mine.
Well, if that is your perception, that there is a difference. You know, some people believe that they are very spiritual and they're very religious.
Sure.
Other people are not with, you know, I was raised Catholic, but my mom always encouraged us to read about all other religions and to experience them. And I did. I had a Jewish friend, so I would attend her events in her synagogue and see what that was like. And I had some born-again Christian friends. So I scoped everybody out. And I don't know, I always came back to just spirituality.
Yes.
I thought, you know, my mother thought religion was something of a moral compass, and that we needed something in our lives to give us a moral compass. So I did have that. But I always felt that they were focused on too many things that weren't of spiritual nature.
Sure.
To put it kindly. So
Sure.
I leaned more to just connecting myself.
Yes.
And that's where I stand. I stand with, I'm connected to a source. So whether it's Taoist or, you know, just
Whatever the practice
whatever
is.
it is, you know, I do believe there is a God, a universal life force energy.
Sure.
But I have clients who are atheists.
Yes.
And just believe in the laws of nature. And
Yes.
but they have, as long as they have a moral compass, I think that's what's important.
I think religion started to give us, in the beginning maybe, whenever that was, created a foundation for us to build upon. But somewhere along the line, it got a little whatever.
And understand our existence.
Maybe.
And I think it means different things to
Sure.
to certain people. Some people use religion as a means to understand what's going to happen when they die.
Yes.
So they cling to
Yes.
their religious beliefs for
Yeah.
that. Other people need it to understand why they exist in the first place.
Right, right.
Right. Some people, like myself, I don't question it at all. I believe it's a learning experience till I go to the next place.
Sure, and that's
So-
what I think about spirituality. I think it really is an inner journey. It's this inward experience of realizing that you are a thread in the tapestry of this universal experience, that it's not just about one religion, though. It's about the aspect of love. It's about really being
That's
within
the word.
within
Yeah.
yourself. And for me, spirituality is that basis. I mean, I'm Catholic. I sang in the Catholic Church when I was a kid. I led the choirs at church. I did all those things. But somewhere along the line, it all shifted and it all changed. And I realized that what the church presented me was a limitation. It didn't allow me to really explore
Yes.
beyond that limitation. Spirituality allows me to explore that and press the boundaries a little bit further, and then go inward and learn and digest those teachings. So for me, that spiritual experience is a very profound inner journey to somewhere within myself, but recognizing that I am connected to that, you said,
Energy.
universal life force.
Yeah.
I think there's something interesting happening now in the world. I mean, you know, in a few weeks from now, I will be walking the path that St. Francis walked, very much, he was an obedient practitioner of the teachings of Jesus Christ, as was his mission. We're going to walk the walk he walked, but his teachings and the teachings of some of those saints and some of the gods and goddesses,
They're all relevant.
they're all relevant, and they're all purposeful for this time and this day. And so we'll explore that. I mean, actually, and if you come back in the next few weeks, you'll see even pictures from Italy and a lot of incredible stories about that experience. And so religion is about, to me at least, the foundation. The spirituality is inward, and it all ties. This all kind of loops together in some way, that we started with complaining, we're ending up with spirituality. And in the beginning, in the middle of all that is, how do you perceive the world in which you live? And what tools, what do you use to see that world in which you live? Or are you just living day by day, going along, you know, going down the
Reacting.
road?
A lot of people go through life just reacting to whatever is coming at them. And that can really stifle a person.
It can.
Your growth, your experience, instead of, like you said, being aware of the energy and then stopping it if you're in a negative mode and just taking a break. Maybe meditation can help, or exercise, or just going for a walk. Just change your perspective.
Change
right?
your perspective.
And then put in some positive energy, or watch a comedy. I mean, if nothing else, watch a show that makes you laugh, and that will raise your vibration a little bit, and you're gonna feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And maybe that person won't annoy you so much.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, drive to work listening to talk radio and getting all heated up about politics, and they're already in a tough frame of mind when they enter. So,
look, this is the day to use the good works, good deeds, good thoughts from the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, which I am
love it.
a fan of all of a sudden. Look, we want to thank you for joining us. It's been a great half hour. We want to thank everybody here at Seekonk TV 9 for letting us come to the studio, and of course to my favorite co-host, thanks Diane for all your support.
Welcome.
I want to leave you with 3 things today. One is to maybe practice some acts of kindness. Those little moments of kindness expand your compassion and maybe allow you to see the world in a different way. The second is really assess how you're looking at the world, and maybe look at the world and the circumstances of the world you live in with an open-mindedness, with a readiness to see something else, to see something even more extraordinary. And then finally, as this final report says, it says here that if we spend a little time in silence, just a little bit, we will be able to regenerate our brain cells. So maybe spend a little time in silence. And until next time, we send you love.